गणेशाय नमः। सरस्वत्यै नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेनैके अमृतत्वमानशुः। परेण नाकम् निहितम् गुहायाम् विभ्राजते तद्यतयो विशन्ति। वेदान्तविज्ञानसुनिश्चितार्थाः सन्न्यासयोगाद्यतयः शुद्धसत्त्वाः। ते ब्रह्मलोके तु परान्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे। दह्रम् विपापम् परमेश्मभूतम् यत्पुण्डरीकम् पुरमद्य सग्स्तम्। तत्रापि दह्रम् गगनम् विशोकस्तस्मिन् यदन्तस्तदुपासितव्यम्। यो वेदादौ स्वरः प्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः। तस्य प्रकृतिलीनस्य यः परः स महेश्वरः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषाः। गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम्। समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to the 11th edition of Mano Hriday Sai. Today's speaker is Shri Karthik, Senior Manager, Finance and Accounts, Shri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Whitefield, Bangalore. Shri Karthik completed his MBA from Shri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning in the year 2000. Thereafter, Swami blessed Karthik with opportunity to join Shri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Bangalore as a manager, and he worked in the clinical departments like cardiac surgery as well as in the stores. He is currently the senior manager in the finance and accounts section. Karthik has been and continues to be the part of the Shri Sathya Sai Prashanti Mandir Bhajan group. He has been part of several dramas, music presentations, including the Bhagwan's 85th birthday program and Burrakatha. He is among the fortunate few who were taken to Kodaikanal by Swami. Karthik's family came to Swami's fold in 1990s after his father's first visit to Bhagwan. Karthik has been a Bal Vikas student too. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. I offer my most humble pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. When I was being introduced, there was a mention of my being part of several convocation dramas. One such drama comes to my mind right now. If you've seen some of the previous episodes of Mano Hriday Sai, I was asking questions of few of our staff who are also alumni of our institute, and by way of response, they were narrating their experiences. So it was basically something like a question-answer session. This particular drama stands out for one thing, for a question and answer kind of a setup. Only thing is, Swami gives the answer before the question is asked. So this drama is about the relationship between Pandavas and Krishna, and about how Krishna gives the Pandavas something that should be opened by them only in times of deep distress. So there came a time when the Pandavas all unanimously felt that they were in such a situation and that it warranted opening of the box or the package which Krishna had given. So when they opened, they found a note, and that note said, "This too shall pass." So this was a truth that is applicable for all situations in life. And Swami had given the Pandavas well in advance the answer which they required during their time of need. And this was a drama in which Swami had taken interest in every minute detail, every minute dialogue. Now I will go back to the time when I had just finished MBA in the year 2000. We were waiting for Swami to give us an opportunity to serve him in any one of the institutes that he runs. It was in May and vacation time generally for the students, and we were there in Brindavan. It was May 3rd or 4th, and I was working in the stores in the Brindavan ashram. So suddenly we got a call that Swami is calling. So we rushed into Trai Brindavan, and Swami said, he gave us an opportunity to perform for Ishwaramadi. So as part of that, he used to call us every afternoon for the next 2 days and give us the opportunity to practice in his divine presence and correct us wherever we were going wrong. And it so happened that among the singers, I was the senior most, and it also so happened that this was the first music program that I was actually performing solo. So there were a lot of butterflies in my stomach. So I was not, there was some tension. Also, I was trying to see if I could be of some guidance to the to juniors. So I must have been, I think, quite agitated on the inside. One afternoon when Swami had called, so we had practiced, and when we were about to take leave, Swami said, it was just Swami and 3 of us. He said, "You talk too much." I was taken aback because I was generally known to be the quiet type. Then I said, "Swami," I tried to resist and tried to defend myself, thinking that, maybe I was talking to the 2 juniors and trying to, encourage them, etc. But then Swami didn't want me to sort of defend myself, because here was Swami telling me that I was talking too much, and here I was trying to say no. So he wouldn't take no for an answer, and he cut me short. I felt that he was a little angry. So then I said, "Swami, inka chayinu." I said, "I will not henceforth talk much." Then Swami said, "That is good." So he immediately calmed down. Then I said, "Swami, Pad Namaskar." Just to make sure that everything was okay and that he'll forgive me. Then Swami said, "Interest kavala," he said. I immediately did not get what Swami meant when he said interest kavala. That happened a little later when I was reading some book on Swami, where Swami says that if you have done a mistake, it is better to admit and then take whatever punishment is due than ask for forgiveness and then you will get back whatever you have to get with interest. So that was a lesson. But the more important lesson for me was that I was now aware that there could be things about me which I didn't know. If Swami said that I was talking too much, it meant that I was talking too much. And the first step to transformation is to admit what Swami was saying as the truth. And then everything else that had to follow will follow. So this was in May 2000. The next thing that I remember, these are all small lessons that Swami had conveyed. There was not, too much by way of words that Swami had said, but it was just the situation and the few words that he said and the sense they made at that time and subsequently that remain etched in my heart. This was during Dasara in the year 2000 again. So that was the first time Gram Seva. We actually went to the villages and we were serving food. So we were waiting. It meant that we were neither staff nor were we students, and we were not sure whether we could be part of a Gram Seva or not. So, and of course, during waiting time, it's generally like the lockdown time, like now we are used to. There was nothing much to do. It was just three things: eat, sleep, repeat. So, and darshan, of course. Eat, sleep, darshan, and the same cycle used to repeat. And I think we had got quite comfortable doing just these three. So, Swami once, he just said, it was around the Gram Seva time, he said, Sapat Ramulu, he said. And then he, it was bhajan time, so bhajan started, and by the time, the bhajan ended, during Aarti time, Swami will just, go and partake of something to eat. So we, in the meantime, before Swami came out of the interview room, we just grouped together and said, like, what is this Sapat Ramlu and what did Swami mean? So then we probably, we figured out that maybe Swami wants us to be part of the Gram Seva, at least maybe just ask for an opportunity to serve. So we said, okay, let's do that. And when Swami came out, we were ready. We were like kneeling down and we said, Swami, can we be part of Gram Seva? And then Swami said, he appeared to be thinking, and then okay, Kani bhajan evaru paadtaru ikkada, he said. So that then he said, go after bhajan. So we got the best of both worlds. So we could attend bhajans in the morning and then we could be part of the Gram Seva also. So he expected us to make ourselves useful in whatever way we could and to be of service to society. Because I remember at that time, even 8th standard, 9th standard boys, I think, could not be taken because, they were, it must have been difficult to manage such small kids. But Swami said, at least go and serve water. So even to those children. So that was how particular he was about service. Then in December 2000, on 8th to be precise, it was in Trai Vrindavan. Swami called a couple of us and then said, from tomorrow onwards you can go, you can work in the hospital. So we were very happy. At that time, Rajiv Mahajan sir was in charge of a few, of getting it ready for inauguration. A lot of items were being received, equipment were being received. So there was counting, verification, checking of installation, and lot of work that was going on at that time. And Rajiv Mahajan sir's mantra was, every time he used to see any of us idle, he used to say, "Kaam karo yaar, kaam karo yaar." So, and it was, just like having something to do after a lockdown. People actually feel very relieved that they are able to go to work after lockdown. So like that, we had nothing to do, and here was like a lot of work coming our way. So we were very glad to be part of it, and we immersed ourselves in the activity. There was a lot of frenzied activity going on at that time because we had to get ready for the inauguration on Jan 19th. So immediately afterwards also Swami used to, and we used to do a lot of cases at that time. I was in cardiac OT sub-stores, and Swami used to also give us opportunities to interact with him, either during darshan time, and sometimes even after darshan he used to call us a couple of times. He used to come to the hospital also and speak to us, speak to staff. So this is going on. So one such day, I think after darshan I came very early, and then started getting ready for that day's cases, whatever had to be issued. I was keeping those items aside. Then I heard that Swami had called the hospital boys, and he was giving them some gifts. I was not so perturbed. I was actually, a little happy also inside. Earlier, I have heard that if somebody that does Swami's work, he will be, very happy, and that Swami also. I was quite confident that it will be that way. But then when the other boys came back, they said that Swami was upset that you were not there, and one of the boys actually made bold to mention to Swami, that I could be also given the gift which was given to the others. So that time he made his displeasure evident that he should have been here. So this was so it was not just about the work. When you had to be where you had to be. So if any work had to be done, it had to be done prior to that. So I got a sense that okay, there's more to it than just the work that we are doing. But this also gave me pause. I was wondering, why is it that Swami was displeased? And when as I had mentioned earlier, Swami had started me on a journey of introspection when he said that you don't, when I say something, you do not question. It is true. So you will have to look within, and you will find out that what I'm saying is true. So now that I had started on that journey, I sort of looked within to see the reasons why I was doing the work the way I was doing. So, and somewhere in the corner of the heart, there is a feeling that if I do more work, I am doing something more than the others. I am to that extent better than somebody else. So I realized that when Swami was displeased, he didn't really need me to be better than somebody for me to be able to please him. So it was a very, very subtle lesson that I learned, and that just because I felt that I was doing more work, it does not mean I am better than somebody else. So this was something that I learned, but not that I got these lessons immediately. When I think about it, there's always something Swami plants, at various stages in your life. You look back at it, you realize, oh, this is what Swami had said. So afterwards, it was different. So I also knew that it was not just about the work, But when we used to go for tri sessions, a little, maybe a few months later, he used to ask, "You have come at 4 o'clock or 4:30 itself. Don't you have work? Did you take permission?" So it was. We thought that okay, we could just come to Swami when we wanted to. So it was not about. It was not so simple. So it was not work all the time. It was not darshan all the time. It was where you had to be at what point of time he required, and it was very difficult to second guess Swami. What Swami wanted, we had to internalize. So regarding this one, in during our first anniversary celebrations, I had the opportunity to introduce one of the speakers, and it was a formal function. Our Kalamji had come, and it was a very formal function. So we had prepared a very brief introduction, maybe about 2-3 minutes. When I went to we used to get the opportunity to take namaskar before and after our introduction. So Swami, when I was taking namaskar, suddenly he said, "Pata padu." So I was like completely not prepared for this. And so I started singing one small Tamil song, and when I had barely started, Swami said, "Ah, chalu." And I just gave the introduction and came back and said. So it was very difficult to predict. We had to be ready with what Swami might want us to do. But again, after the function, we also had the chance to serve Swami and the guests. So at that time, Kalamji was very happy that a Tamil song had been sung. So it was maybe that is what Swami wanted, and because it was out of the blue, I just sang the first song that came to my head, and I didn't have much time to think. But so we had to be sensitive to what he might ask when, and be ready. Then there was a time when Swami went to Parthi. It was we had the opportunity to visit Parthi every Sunday. So we used to, if one group, one batch visited this Sunday, it would be the turn of the next batch next Sunday, and so on. This was going on for a while. Then suddenly, one day Swami asked, "Why have you come?" Then, it was a simple question, but we started thinking, with all this background, where, what should we tell Swami? Then, we said, "Swami, today is Sunday, so we have come." So, as if to say that, if it had been a working day, we would not have come. Anyway, it's a Sunday, and so. But what Swami said was, completely googly, as they say. He said, "Oh, so you have come because it's a Sunday, not because you wanted to see me," he said. So, as if and there was nothing better to do, so we have come, or it was a. That sort of set me thinking again. So it was we did something or did not do something, not just because time was available. Because time is available, I do something. That is not, availability of time did not determine what I do or what I should not do. But that is determined by what is needed to be done. So suppose there was no Sunday, still we would want to see Swami, and we would somehow make the time and go. Take leave or whatever. What had to be done had to be done. Not just because time was available. So that was a very invaluable lesson that we got. Subsequently, it was in 2008, I think, Swami's visit to the hospital. Many times Swami has asked us, where are you working? And this was definitely not the first time he was asking. initially when he had sent me to work in the hospital, he had said you can do inventory management is what he had said. This time when Swami asked me, I said Swami, accounts department. Then Swami said, oh, not music, he said. So it was, I mean, it was, I mean, it is always very, when Swami is speaking to us, and when he, after just saying that, he gave a beautiful smile. So everybody just started, laughing. At that time, it did seem a very casual remark. But it was not about, just accounts or music. It was about doing again what he wanted us to do. So this, I'm reminded of one very beautiful episode in Ram Katha Rasavahini. Only Swami can put it this way. This was when Rama and Lakshmana were in the forest. They had to have some place to, some kind of shelter. So Rama tells Lakshmana, why don't you build a hut? And Lakshmana gets ready to obey Rama's order. And then he asks for further directions on where he should build the hut. And then Rama casually says, wherever you want, and whatever you want you can do. So, but then Lakshmana's response is something that is completely unexpected. He breaks down and starts sobbing in front of Rama and asks him, what is it that, what sin have I committed that you are speaking to me in such harsh words? So Rama was, taken aback, and he says, what did I say? I just said, you can build the hut wherever you want. But then Lakshmana asks him, have I ever had a will of my own that now you are asking me to do, wherever I want it to? So this was the state in which Lakshmana was, a state of complete surrender, where there was no other will than Rama's will. But of course, we are very far from that kind of surrender, which again, we realize during some of the incidents that we have had with Swami. Swami has always maybe just two things that come to my mind. In whatever experience Swami has given us, he had our happiness always in mind, and he also ensured that we were more self-aware after the particular incident. So it's like he was showing us the mirror, so we could see for ourselves our innermost thoughts. So this was a little later, towards maybe 2010, 2011. So 2010 September. So this was my I was actually there were talks about whether I should be getting married, and whenever anybody used to ask me this question, I used to say whatever Swami says. But of course, it was a very superficial answer. I had not particularly asked Swami, what I should be doing in this respect. But he has told me 2 or 3 times, very, very, very clearly. He said that, Asa undi, pelli chesko, nenu bless chestanu. So it was because, I had a feeling that Swami may not like it if I get married. This was going on in my mind. So if suppose Swami had said, marry just this much, then, my mind would have said, no, Swami is only testing me. So that means that one answer is already ruled out. So when Swami said, Ishtamundi, చేసుకో, ఆశ ఉంది చేసుకో, నేను బ్లెస్ చేస్తాను. సో దిస్ వాజ్ 2-3 times he had told me at different points in time. So I was I accepted that it was something that I wanted and that Swami had blessed me with to go ahead. I mean, it was that I had no will of my own is not, I mean, is a very, it's a far cry. I will just end with one last incident that happened just maybe 4 years back. Swami doesn't even wait for you to call him. I mean, he anticipates what you are going to go through, and then beforehand he ensures that all preventive measures are taken. He is so compassionate. In Tamil they say taduttatkundu. So even before you can get into some kind of trouble, he gives you the blessing and the necessary precaution or preventive measure. So it was, my parents had come and we had gone for a short trip, and then we had come back, and my father was just walking back to the house, and he was carrying my son, and he suddenly felt that it was getting a little difficult for him to do that. Otherwise he loves to carry his grandchildren, and then he said, I don't seem to be feeling very well. I want to get my BP checked, is all he said. Then one thing led to the other, and then we found that he needed a bypass surgery, and then pacemaker also had to be implanted. And it so happened that if it had not been done by then, they would have returned to Madurai, where they stay, and anything could have happened at any point of time. So when it was investigated, they found that he had some blocks, and then both the surgery and the pacemaker implantation were done here. So Swami knows what we are going through, and he takes care to see that we are not put to difficulty, and before something befalls us, he ensures that we are protected and we are safe from harm. I only hope. Okay, maybe I will just sing that one small song which Swami had corrected. I will sing it both ways. So this is in Tamil, and it has been sung by Malaysia Vasudevan in praise of Swami. And this I got an opportunity to sing it for Ishwaramadi. There is a small alap which goes like, Hinduvum, Islamum, Christuvum, Buddhanum, Hinduvum, Islamum, Christuvum, Buddhanum, ஒரு தாய் வயிற்றில் பிறந்த குழந்தைகளே, here I used to sing it as ஒரு தாய் வயிற்றில் பிறந்த. So Swami had actually said that Thai, you should not sing it, ஒரு தாய், because you are singing about mother. So the feeling that it should evoke should be different. It cannot, you shouldn't give the variation there. You give it somewhere else. So it became ஒரு தாய் வயிற்றில் பிறந்த, there வயிற்றில் பிறந்த, you give it there, he said. குழந்தைகளே, ஒன்றே குலம், ஒருவனே தேவன் என்று, ஒன்றே குலம், ஒருவனே தேவன் என்று ஒவ்வொரு மனிதனும் நினைத்து விட்டால் நன்றே உலகம் வாழும் என்று ஸ்ரீ சத்ய சாய் உரைக்கின்றான். ஜாதி மதபேதம் இன்றி அனைவரையும் காக்கின்றான். ஈஸ்வராம்பாய் ஈன்றெடுத்த இன்னல்களை தீர்க்க வந்த சுவாமியே ஸ்ரீ சத்ய சாயி பகவான். சுவாமியே ஸ்ரீ சத்ய சாயி பகவான். So with this, I pray that Swami blesses us all with the opportunity, with the wisdom to know what it is that He wants to do, and lead our lives in tune with His will. Thank you, Sai Ram.
మానవుడు కేవలము తన కర్తవ్యాన్ని విస్మరించి హక్కులకై ఆరాటపడుతున్నాడు.
Man has forgotten his responsibilities, but is struggling and fighting for his rights.
నిజముగా మానవుడు లోతులకు దిగి విచారించినా మానవునికి ఎట్టి అధికారం కానీ హక్కు కానీ లేదు ఈ జగత్తునందు.
If you inquire in depth, man does not have any authority or right.
కర్తవ్యమే తన యొక్క అధికారం కానీ ప్రత్యేకమైన అధికారము తనకు లేవు.
His authority is only to perform his duty, but he does not have any other right.
కర్తవ్యమును నిర్వర్తించక హక్కులకై ప్రాకులాడటము ఇది వెర్రితనం.
Without performing one's duty, struggling for rights is foolishness and madness.
ఈనాడు లోకంలో సంభవించినటువంటి ఈ విప్లవములకు మూల కారణము కర్తవ్యాలను విస్మరించటమే.
For all the catastrophes in the world today, man's forgetting his duty is irresponsible.
ఎవరెవరి కర్తవ్యాన్ని వారు చక్కగా నిర్వర్తించుకున్నప్పుడు జగత్తు సుభిక్షంగా ఉంటుంటుంది.
When everyone performs his duty, the whole world will be safe and secure.
యజమాని యొక్క కర్తవ్యము చక్కగా నిర్వర్తించినప్పుడే పనివారి యొక్క విలువలు పెరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి.
When master performs his duties properly, the servants will follow his example.
తల్లిదండ్రుల యొక్క కర్తవ్యాన్ని చక్కగా నిర్వర్తించినప్పుడే బిడ్డల యొక్క అధికారము అధికమవుతుంది.
When parents discharge their duties, the rights of the children will increase.
పిల్లలు తమ యొక్క కర్తవ్యాన్ని నిర్వర్తించినప్పుడే తల్లిదండ్రుల యొక్క గొప్పతనము వ్యాప్తమవుతుంది.
When children discharge their duties, then it expresses the greatness of the parents.
అటులనే అధ్యాపకుల యొక్క కర్తవ్యాన్ని చక్కగా నిర్వర్తించినప్పుడే విద్యార్థుల యొక్క విశిష్టత అధికమవుతుంది.
Similarly, when teachers discharge their duties, we find uniqueness in the students.
విద్యార్థులు తమ యొక్క కర్తవ్యాన్ని నిర్వర్తించినప్పుడే అధికారుల యొక్క విలువ అధికమవుతుంది.
When students discharge their duties, the authorities and the administrators will gain respect and value.
కనుక ఈనాడు ప్రపంచమునందు ఈ కర్తవ్యం యొక్క సంబంధాన్ని విస్మరిస్తున్నాడు.
But in today's world, man is forgetting his duties.
జగత్తంతయుకుడును అంగాంగముల యొక్క అన్యోన్యతయే స్వరూపం.
This world is nothing but the manifestation of the inseparable interdependent relation of its limbs and organs.
కర్తవ్యాన్ని నిర్వర్తించినప్పుడే ఫలమును మనం పొందుకునే అధికారం లభ్యమవుతుంది.
When we discharge our duties, we get the right to get the reward.
కర్మణ్యేవ అధికారస్య మాపలేషు కదాచన. కర్మాధికారమును మనం చక్కగా నిర్వర్తించినప్పుడు ఫలము సహజంగానే మనకు ప్రాప్తిస్తుంది.
When we do our actions responsibly, automatically we will get the reward.
కర్మను ఆచరించక ఫలమును ఆశించేటువంటి వాడు మూర్ఖుడనే చెప్పవచ్చు.
We should say that he is a fool who expects the results without doing his duty.
ఈనాడు మన కర్తవ్యమే నిజమైన అధికారం.
Our real right is our duty.
ఈ కర్తవ్యాన్ని విస్మరించటము పెద్ద దోషం.
Forgetting the duty is a great mistake.
భవ భయహరణ వందిత చరణ భవ భయహరణ వందిత చరణ భవ భయహరణ వందిత చరణ భవ భయహరణ వందిత చరణ జయనాద జయ మాధవ గౌరీ జయనాద జయ మాధవ గౌరీ జయనాద జయ మాధవ గౌరీ జయనాద జయ కాళిమల దహన